Okay, so previously we created users that can enroll to courses, and if a user is enrolled to a course, he'll be able to see the content of the lessons that belong to the course. So here, for example, we have this admin user looking at the content of the lesson in course 3. And now we want to track the progress of the user inside a course. So basically, we'll be able to see if a user has seen a specific lesson and how many lessons of a course a user has seen. For this, we're going to create a new table. It's going to be called user lessons. So it's going to have a reference to the lessons and to the user. And whenever a user opens a new lesson that he hasn't seen before, there is going to be a new record created in this user lessons table. So let's go and create it. First, we're going to run a migration. So we're going to migrate a new table, create user lessons with lesson and user references. Let's see how this migration looks. So here it is. We're creating a table with user lessons and 2 references. Now let's create a model, user lessons.rb. User lesson.rb. Okay, and it's going to inherit from application record. Let's copy. So user lesson.rb. And now a user lesson belongs to a user and belongs to a lesson. And to a lesson. Okay, next we're going to validate the presence of both users and lessons. So validate user lesson presence true. Okay, and now we're also going to validate the uniqueness of user lesson combination inside a user lesson, so that we can't have 2 user lesson records for the same user and lesson ID. Now, we did something similar in our enrollments RB. So we were validating that a user cannot enroll twice to the same course. We're just going to copy this code, and we're going to validate uniqueness of user ID scope lesson ID, and uniqueness of lesson ID scope user ID. And we'll say that user can't see the same course, the same lesson twice for the first time. Okay, let's delete the second comment. Looks fine. Now let's think. We want to create a new user lesson record whenever we go to the show action in the lessons controller. So let's go to our lessons controller. And here we're going to authorize the lesson. And if a user can see the lesson, we're going to create a user lesson record. So we're going to create some kind of method like this. So we're going to make the current user view the lesson with this lesson ID. And now we're going to the user RB, and there we're going to actually create this view lesson method. So let's copy it. We go to user RB, and we'll create a method to view lesson. So def view lesson, and here end. Okay. And here we are going to create a user lesson with the current user ID and with the lesson ID. Now let's think. We want this creation action to be passed only if there are no records already created. So for this, we'll pass some additional validation like this. Now we're going to, before actually creating a user lesson, we're going to run a validation so that there are no lessons with the current user and current lesson ID already. Now, let us see if it works. So the current user has this lesson opened, and let's refresh. Okay, let's run the server. Okay, let's refresh. Now we must first run our migrations, rake db migrate. Rails server. Okay, undefined method user lessons. Because we didn't add the user has many user lessons in our model. So user has many user lessons. And the lesson has many user lessons. So let's go to lesson.rb. Lesson has many user lessons and belongs to course. Okay. Okay, we've added the relationships, and now let's go and see if it works. Okay, well, we can open the page, but we don't know if we've created a record in user lessons table. Let's check it in our console. So user lesson.count. And we have one user lesson. Let's try refreshing. Okay, I'll create a new server, Rails server in another tab. We have our server running. Let's check how many user lessons we have, still one. But if we open another lesson in the course, one more user lesson should be created. So you see we have 2 user lessons. And here we can see that it was created. Now let's actually make it visual for a user to see whether he has seen a specific lesson or not. So for this, we're going to add a new method in lesson. So we will see if the current user has viewed the lesson, meaning we're going to check if there is a record associating the current lesson and the current user. And if there is a record, then it's going to give us true. So it's going to be something like def viewed by user, and we're going to check self user lessons. So we're going to check if there are any user lessons, var user is the current user. And we're going to check if the scope is empty. Okay. Now, here is an alternative way to make a very similar query. So the result of these two must be the same. And let's make this method visible in our lesson view. So let's go to lesson.html HAML. And here we will see if the current user has viewed this specific lesson. So here is our lesson view. Let's see it. Okay, and here we're going to make it visible if the user has viewed this current lesson. So we're going to add something like if the current lesson was viewed by current user, then we're going to write something like viewed. Else, not viewed. Let's see if it works. So it tells us that this lesson was not viewed. Interesting. Now going back here, we see that we are checking if it's empty. So we're going to actually check not if it is empty, but if it is present. So present, yes. So if it is present, then it says viewed. Now we see that the current user has viewed these 2 lessons. Let's go to another course. This course, for example. Okay, it was created by this user. Let's see another course that this user bought and that has lessons. So this lesson, now the current user has not viewed this course, but the current user has created it. In any case, we're going to open it, and you see not viewed changed to viewed. Now let's make it look a bit more fancy. So if current lesson was viewed, the check square is going to be with success. So text success. Else is going to be text danger. Now let's see if we can make it bold. Oh, never mind. We're going to remove this check square. So now we see if the current user has viewed a lesson. Now let's log in as another user. Let's log in as the student user. Let's see a course that he has purchased. So he's purchased this course and he hasn't viewed any of the lessons. Now let's open one of the lessons and we see that the red sign changed to the green sign. So he has seen this lesson and it changed here. Now let's open the other lesson and he has seen it. Fantastic. Now, in the courses index, we don't want to really see the contents of the lessons. So we're going to hide it from here. Let's go to our courses show.html. So here we have the course code on this side, and here we have our lessons. Well, anyway, we're going to work on the styling in the next lesson, and here we have done quite a lot. We've created user lessons and made them work. So whenever a user opens a lesson that he hasn't seen before, we are going to create a new user lesson record that a user has seen this lesson. Thank you.